The skies above New Geneva darkened as the massive alien vessel descended through Earth's atmosphere. It was unlike anything humans had ever built, sleek, impossibly large, and moving with a grace that defied its size. On the ground, Commander James Porter adjusted his uniform collar nervously as he stood at the front of the welcoming committee. "Steady," he whispered to himself. Humanity's first official contact with alien life. After years of distant signals and speculation, they were finally here. The ship settled on the massive landing pad constructed specifically for this moment. Steam hissed from vents along its silver hull as a seam appeared in its smooth surface. The world watched through countless cameras as the door slowly opened. The Trizari emerged. Tall, slender beings with blue-tinted skin and 4 arms. Their eyes, large and silver, seemed to take in everything at once. The lead alien, draped in ornate metallic fabric, stepped forward with a fluid grace. "I am Delegate Norix of the Galactic Council," the alien said, its voice translated through devices they had sent ahead. "We greet Earth and welcome you to the greater community of worlds." Porter stepped forward, heart pounding in his chest. "On behalf of the United Earth Federation, we welcome you to our world." He extended his hand in the human gesture of friendship. The alien looked at his hand for a moment before mimicking the gesture. Its skin felt cool and smooth like polished stone. "This is just the beginning," Norix said, its silver eyes showing no emotion that humans could read. The next 3 days were a whirlwind of meetings and ceremonies. The Trizari spoke of trade, cultural exchange, and technological sharing. They seemed especially interested in Earth's natural resources, asking detailed questions about rare minerals and water reserves. In his private quarters that evening, Porter reviewed the day's events with his assistant, Thomas Reed. "Something feels off," Porter said, staring at the reports. "They're asking too many specific questions about our defense systems." Reed nodded. "The science team noticed their ships are scanning our cities constantly. They claimed it was for atmospheric compatibility, but the scans go much deeper." "Keep this quiet for now," Porter ordered. "We don't want to accuse our new friends of anything without proof." The proof came sooner than anyone expected. On the 4th day, as world leaders gathered for the signing of the preliminary agreements, the Trizari delegation received a signal from their ship. Norix turned to face Porter, but now the alien's eyes held a cold, calculating look. "Your world has much to offer the Galactic Council," Norix stated flatly. "It would be a waste to spend decades on gradual integration." Before Porter could respond, the main lights failed. Emergency alarms blared across the compound. "What's happening?" Porter demanded. Norix simply stepped back toward the ship. "Earth is now under Trizari protection. Your resources are too valuable to be managed by primitives." The sky filled with ships, hundreds of them, appearing from behind the moon where they had been hiding. They descended on major cities across the planet. Energy weapons carved swaths of destruction through military bases and defense installations. Porter watched in horror through the command center windows as New Geneva's defense forces scrambled jets that were obliterated before they could even engage. The Trizari had studied Earth's defenses carefully and knew exactly where to strike. This was never about friendship, Porter realized as he organized an emergency evacuation. This was reconnaissance. Within hours, Earth's major military installations lay in ruins. The Trizari moved with surgical precision, disabling communications and power grids worldwide. Their technology was centuries beyond humanity's best defenses. By nightfall, as fires burned across the horizon, Porter found himself hiding in an underground bunker with the remaining government officials. The first day of alien contact had ended with Earth's defenses shattered and its people facing an enemy they couldn't have imagined. "They think we're just going to surrender," Porter said to the grim faces around him. "They have no idea what humans are capable of when we're backed into a corner." Little did the Trizari know, they had just made the worst mistake in their species' history. 6 months passed since the day the sky fell. Commander Porter stared out from the hidden bunker entrance at what remained of New Geneva. The once proud city now stood as a hollow shell, its buildings serving as mining platforms for the Trizari. Giant drilling machines punctured the earth like metal parasites, pulling precious metals from deep underground. The aliens worked humans in shifts, day and night. Thin figures moved under the watch of floating security drones that fired without warning at anyone who slowed or stumbled. "It's the same across every continent," Eliza Reed said, appearing beside Porter. Her face had grown harder since the invasion, her former life as a biotechnology researcher replaced by her new role as resistance leader. "They're stripping us bare." Porter nodded grimly. "What's the latest count?" "We've confirmed 37 major mining operations. They're taking everything: rare earth metals, platinum group elements, even our fresh water. Tankers the size of small cities are carrying it all off-world." The Trizari occupation had been brutally efficient. In the first month alone, they had eliminated most world governments and military command structures. Radio and internet communications were controlled or blocked. Humans who cooperated received food rations and basic medical care. Those who resisted simply disappeared. "The bioweapons research is showing promise," Eliza said more quietly, checking the secure area for listening devices. Dr. Heller noticed something interesting when examining the Trizari corpse we recovered last month. Their respiratory system has no defense against certain Earth bacteria. They've been taking medication to protect themselves. That's why they wear those filters when they're outside their environmental zones. Porter's eyes narrowed. "How long would it take to develop something useful?" "With our limited equipment, at least another month, maybe more." A distant explosion shook dust from the bunker ceiling. The resistance had become bolder in recent weeks, targeting supply lines and communication arrays. Small victories, but they kept hope alive. "We received a coded transmission from the Pacific region," Eliza said, her voice dropping to barely a whisper. "Admiral Wright is alive." Porter's head snapped toward her. "Wright? That's impossible. The entire Pacific Fleet was destroyed during the initial attack." "Not all of it," Eliza replied, handing him a battered tablet. "Read this yourself." The message was brief but clear. Admiral Marcus Wright had managed to save a portion of the classified deep-sea installation, where Earth's most advanced weapons and spacecraft had been developed in secret. For decades, top scientists had been reverse engineering technology from a crashed alien ship, not Trizari, but something else entirely. "If this is true," Porter began, "it changes everything," Eliza finished. 3 days later, they made the dangerous journey to the coast. Under cover of darkness, they boarded a small submarine that took them far out into the ocean. Porter watched the depth gauge drop to numbers that made no sense for a normal submarine. Finally, they docked at what appeared to be an underwater city built into the side of a deep ocean trench. Admiral Wright met them at the airlock. His uniform was worn but immaculate, his face weathered but determined. "Welcome to Atlantis Base," he said without ceremony. "I'm glad you made it." He led them through corridors filled with busy technicians and soldiers. Scientists worked on strange equipment while military personnel trained with weapons Porter had never seen. "We've been monitoring the Trizari communications," Wright explained. "They're strip mining Earth without Galactic Council approval. Apparently, there are rules even among conquerors, and they've broken them." They entered a massive hangar bay. Porter stopped in his tracks, staring upward at sleek spacecraft lined in rows. "These are—" He couldn't finish the sentence. "Earth's secret fleet," Wright said with grim satisfaction. "Not as advanced as theirs, but with some surprises they won't expect. We've been adding Trizari tech we've salvaged to our own designs." For the first time since the invasion, Porter felt something beyond despair. "When do we start?" he asked. Wright's eyes hardened. "We already have. Phase 1 was gathering intelligence. Phase 2 is making them regret ever finding our planet." The command center of Atlantis Base hummed with activity. Screens displayed global Trizari movements while technicians monitored communications. In the center of it all, Admiral Wright spread his hands over a holographic map of Earth, its surface dotted with red markers indicating alien strongholds. "We've been preparing for this possibility for decades," Wright explained to Porter and Eliza. "Not aliens specifically, but the idea that humanity might face an overwhelming threat." "How did you hide all this?" Porter asked, still processing the massive underground facility. Wright's weathered face showed a hint of pride. Black budget projects hidden within black budget projects. Only a handful of people in each government knew. After the Roswell crash in 1947, world leaders realized we might not be alone, and we might not be welcome. He led them deeper into the facility, past laboratories where scientists worked on captured Trizari technology. "The aliens believe they destroyed all our advanced weapon systems," Wright continued. "They have no idea we kept our best tech completely off the books." They entered a massive chamber where engineers swarmed over a sleek spacecraft unlike anything Porter had seen before. "This is the Avenger-class tactical strike vessel," Wright said, "fusion-powered, with experimental shield technology. We have 12 operational units." Eliza stepped forward, examining the craft with a scientist's eye. "That's not all Earth technology, is it?" "No," Wright admitted. "Some of it we developed by studying the wreckage of a non-Trizari ship that crashed in the Arctic 30 years ago. Different alien species altogether. They died in the crash, but their technology gave us a significant head start." Porter shook his head in disbelief. "And you've kept this secret all this time?" "Compartmentalized knowledge," Wright said simply. "Now let's discuss how your resistance fighters and our forces can coordinate." In a nearby laboratory, Dr. Helen Ferris, a microbiologist who had been working with Eliza, demonstrated their bioweapon progress. "The Trizari respiratory system has no defense against certain Earth bacteria," she explained, displaying microscope images on a screen. "These organisms are harmless to humans, but cause severe inflammation in Trizari lung tissue." "Can we weaponize it?" Wright asked bluntly. Dr. Ferris nodded. "We've developed an aerosol delivery system. Limited range, but devastating effect. They'll experience respiratory failure within minutes of exposure." "That's," Porter hesitated, "brutal." "They didn't hesitate to slaughter millions of us," Wright reminded him. "This is survival." Over the following days, they developed their strategy. Resistance cells worldwide would coordinate with Wright's forces for a simultaneous strike. The goal: capture a Trizari communications array intact. "Their communications are the key," Wright explained during the final briefing. "We need to send a message to the Galactic Council." "You really think the Council doesn't know what's happening here?" Eliza asked skeptically. "According to the communications we intercepted, the Trizari acted without authorization," Wright replied. "This invasion was a rogue operation to seize Earth's resources before other Council species could claim them. The plan came together quickly. Resistance fighters would create diversions while Wright's special forces deployed the bioweapon at key Trizari command posts. Meanwhile, a team led by Porter would assault the main communications array in what had once been Singapore. On the night before the operation, Porter found Eliza on the observation deck, looking at the dark ocean waters above through armored glass. "Do you think we can win?" she asked without turning. Porter considered the question carefully. 6 months ago, I thought we were finished. Now," he gestured to the facility around them. "Now, I think we can hurt them. Bad enough that they'll regret ever coming here." Eliza finally turned to face him. "The bioweapon testing is complete. It works even better than we hoped." "Are we becoming like them?" Porter asked quietly, "using a weapon that causes such suffering?" "We're fighting extinction," Eliza replied, her voice firm. "And they chose this battlefield, not us." In the hangar bay below, technicians made final preparations on the strike craft. Weapons were loaded, systems checked, and soldiers briefed. The hidden fleet that represented humanity's last, best hope was ready. Admiral Wright's voice came over the facility's speakers. "All units, final preparations complete. Operation Vicious Revenge commences at 400 hours. May God have mercy on them, because we won't. Dawn broke over Singapore as Porter's strike team moved silently through the ruins of the once thriving city. The massive Trizeri communications array towered above them, its dish aimed at the stars. Blue energy pulsed along its surface as it maintained constant contact with the alien fleet. Alpha Team in position, Porter whispered into his comm unit. He signaled to the 6 soldiers with him, each carrying specialized equipment designed to hack Trizeri systems. Bravo Team ready, came Eliza's voice through the earpiece. Her team carried the bioweapon canisters, disguised as standard equipment. All teams, execute on my mark. Admiral Wright commanded from Atlantis base. Worldwide operations commencing in 3, 2, 1. Mark. Across the globe, in perfect synchronization, humanity struck back. The first Trizeri to fall never saw it coming. The alien guards outside the communications array suddenly clutched at their breathing filters as an invisible cloud of weaponized bacteria surrounded them. They collapsed, blue-skinned, turning a sickly gray as they gasped for air. Bioweapon deployed successfully, Eliza reported. Area is clear. Porter's team surged forward, attaching breaching devices to the main doors. The explosion was precisely calculated, just enough force to break the locking mechanism without damaging the critical systems inside. We're in, Porter announced as they entered the facility. Inside, more Trizeri fell to the bioweapon. Those who survived the initial attack found themselves facing humans with salvaged alien weapons. The close-quarters combat was brutal but brief. Control room secured, Porter reported as his tech specialist. Lee began working on the communications console, accessing their systems now. Meanwhile, around the world, Wright's hidden fleet emerged from concealed bases. The Avenger-class ships rose from the ocean, burst from mountain hangars, and streaked across the sky. Their experimental shields absorbed the first volleys from surprised Trizeri vessels. The alien invaders had grown complacent, never expecting such a coordinated attack from what they considered a defeated species. In North America, resistance fighters deployed the bioweapon at the main Trizeri mining operation. Hundreds of aliens collapsed, their respiratory systems failing as human prisoners seized the moment to break free. They turned the aliens' own weapons against their former captors. In the skies above Europe, Wright's fighters engaged Trizeri patrol craft. The alien technology was superior, but humanity's pilots flew with desperate courage and surprising tactics. They used the planet's atmosphere to their advantage, executing maneuvers the Trizeri ships couldn't match. Their shields have a fluctuation pattern, reported Wing Commander Davis as her squadron battled above London. Hitting them precisely when they cycle yields a breakthrough. The information spread rapidly through human forces. Suddenly, the seemingly invincible Trizeri ships became vulnerable targets. Back in Singapore, Lee finally broke through the communication security. "I'm in their system," he announced, fingers flying across the alien interface, ready to broadcast. Porter nodded grimly. "Send the message." The communications array hummed with increased power as it redirected its beam toward a specific set of coordinates, the Galactic Council's headquarters. "Message away," Lee confirmed. "And I've downloaded their communication logs. Proof they acted without Council authorization." Porter allowed himself a small smile. Now we see if anyone's listening. The victory was far from complete. Trizeri reinforcements arrived at key locations, pushing back against the human offensive. But the element of surprise had given humanity its first real advantage since the invasion began. As Porter's team prepared to extract from the communications center, the ground shook with the impact of Trizeri bombs. "They're trying to destroy the evidence," Eliza shouted over the rumbling. "Too late," Porter replied, holding up the data drive. "We got what we came for." Outside, one of Wright's Avenger ships descended through enemy fire, its shields flickering but holding. The rear hatch opened as Porter's and Eliza's teams sprinted toward it. "Move, move," Porter urged as debris rained down around them. Aboard the ship, watching through the viewport as they ascended, Porter saw the Trizeri communications array explode in a fireball. But it didn't matter now. The message had been sent. "Did we win?" one of the younger soldiers asked. "Not yet," Porter replied, clutching the data drive. "But for the first time, we hurt them. And more importantly, we showed them who they're really fighting." 3 days after the coordinated attack, Porter stood in Admiral Wright's command center watching the main view screen. The tension in the room was palpable as everyone stared at the massive alien vessel approaching Earth. Unlike the angular, predatory shapes of Trizeri ships, this one was smooth and circular, glowing with soft blue light. "Is it another enemy?" Eliza asked, her hand instinctively moving to her weapon. Wright shook his head. "Different design completely. And they're broadcasting on all frequencies, something the Trizeri never did." The message repeated in multiple languages. "Attention, people of Earth. This is Arbiter Vel of the Galactic Council Diplomatic Court. We come in peace to investigate your claims against the Trizeri Empire." "They actually responded," Porter said, almost not believing it had worked. "Let's not celebrate yet," Wright cautioned. "They could be allies of the Trizeri." The Council ship requested a neutral meeting ground. After careful consideration, Wright suggested the ruins of the United Nations building in New York, a symbolic choice. Under heavy guard from both human forces and the Council security, representatives gathered in what remained of the General Assembly Hall. Porter, Wright, and Eliza represented Earth, while 3 alien species sat across from them. Arbiter Vel of the Doran species stepped forward. Tall and slender with iridescent skin that shifted colors with his movements, he commanded immediate respect. "We have reviewed your evidence," Vel began, his voice translated through a small device. "The Trizeri invasion was unauthorized and illegal under Council law. They will be held accountable." Beside him, a small 4-armed being that introduced itself as Historian Grell added, "The Council had no knowledge of these actions. The Trizeri claimed they were establishing peaceful relations with your world." The third alien, a massive reptilian creature named Commander Kreth, simply watched with unblinking eyes. "While your claims are valid," Vel continued, "we must address another matter of concern." He gestured, and a hologram appeared showing scenes from Earth's counterattack. The bioweapons effects on Trizeri troops were displayed in graphic detail. "The biological agent you deployed against the Trizeri constitutes a weapon of mass destruction under Council definitions," Vel stated. "Such weapons are forbidden." Porter stepped forward. "With respect, Arbiter, we used what was available to us. The Trizeri killed millions of our people in their unprovoked attack." "We understand desperation," Vel replied. "But your species has demonstrated concerning capacity for warfare. Your counterattack exceeded all predicted capabilities in our threat assessment models." Wright couldn't help but smile slightly at this. "You underestimated humans. The Trizeri made the same mistake." Historian Grell spoke up, 4 arms moving in complex patterns. "We have studied your historical records from your information networks. Your species has fought countless wars against itself. You developed atomic weapons. You have repeatedly faced extinction-level events of your own making and survived. That's precisely why we deserve a seat at the Council," Eliza argued. "We've faced our demons and still moved forward." Commander Kreth finally spoke, his voice a rumbling growl. "The Council fears what it does not understand. Your species took on a technologically superior force and fought them to a standstill using ingenuity and sheer determination. That makes you unpredictable." "And dangerous," added Vel. The debate continued for hours. The Council representatives were particularly troubled by the hidden fleet and weapons Earth had developed in secret. "Had we known of these capabilities," Vel admitted, "the Trizeri would never have been permitted to approach your world." As night fell, a decision was reached. The Trizeri would be ordered to withdraw from Earth immediately. Reparations would be paid for the damage done and resources taken. A formal tribunal would be held to judge the Trizeri leaders responsible. And what of Earth's status? Porter asked. Vel's skin shifted to a deep blue. The council is divided. Some see Earth as a potential member world. Others view you as too volatile for full membership. So we're to be isolated? Wright demanded. No, Vel replied. You will be granted provisional status while the council deliberates. Observer rights, but not full voting privileges. As the meeting concluded, Commander Kreth approached Porter privately. Between warriors, he said quietly, your tactics were impressive. The Trizeri believed themselves invincible. You taught them fear. Looking up at the massive alien, Porter simply nodded. We didn't want this war, but we will finish it. The Galactic Council headquarters floated in space like a massive crystalline flower. Its transparent petals housed representatives from hundreds of worlds, while the central hub served as the main assembly chamber. Earth's delegation stood at the entrance, taking in the overwhelming scale of alien civilization for the first time. Stay focused, Admiral Wright reminded them quietly. We're here for justice, not sightseeing. Porter nodded, adjusting the formal uniform the council had required for the tribunal. Beside him, Elisa studied a small translator device provided by their Doran allies. The tribunal begins in 1 hour, announced their guide, a small hovering drone. You may proceed to the preparation chamber. Inside, they found Arbiter Vel waiting for them. His skin had shifted to a formal pattern of blue and silver that seemed to indicate seriousness. This will not be easy, Vel warned them. The Trizeri have powerful allies in the council. They will attempt to justify their actions by portraying humanity as a dangerous, volatile species. They invaded us, Porter said firmly. There's no justification for that. In galactic politics, there are always justifications, Vel replied. Be prepared for their accusations. The great chamber hushed as the Earth delegation entered. Thousands of alien representatives watched from tiered seating that rose in a perfect circle. At the center stood a raised platform where 7 senior council members sat as judges. Opposite Earth's delegation, a group of Trizeri officials waited, their posture rigid with confidence. High Judge Omra, a being of living energy contained within a specialized suit, spoke first. This tribunal is convened to address the unauthorized military action taken by the Trizeri Empire against the sovereign world known as Earth. We will hear evidence from both sides. The Trizeri sovereign, Vexenor, stepped forward. His elaborate uniform gleamed with medals and insignia of rank. Honored judges, he began, his translated voice smooth and reasonable. The Trizeri Empire acted not as conquerors, but as protectors of galactic stability. Our preliminary scans revealed that humans possess an unusually aggressive neurological structure and a history saturated with warfare. He gestured, and images appeared showing Earth's past conflicts, world wars, nuclear tests, military parades. Furthermore, Vexenor continued, our intelligence suggested they were developing technologies that would soon allow them interstellar travel. Given their demonstrated propensity for violence, we determined immediate containment was necessary. Admiral Wright scoffed audibly, drawing disapproving looks from several council members. Porter stepped forward when given permission to speak. Honored judges, the Trizeri claims are false. Yes, humanity has a history of conflict, as I suspect most species do. But we were engaged in peaceful activities when the Trizeri arrived under the pretense of friendship. He activated the data device they had captured, projecting communications logs for all to see. These records show the Trizeri planned their invasion before even making contact. They identified Earth as resource-rich and militarily vulnerable. There was no assessment of threat, only opportunity. The chamber erupted in murmurs as the evidence was displayed. Porter continued, his voice growing stronger. The Trizeri killed millions of our people. They stripped our planet of resources. They enslaved survivors. These are not the actions of protectors. These are the actions of conquerors and thieves. Vexenor hissed in anger. And how did humans respond? with biological warfare. They deployed a weapon that caused agonizing death to thousands of Trizari soldiers. The Lysas stepped forward then. A weapon we developed after your unprovoked attack. A weapon we created while fighting for our very survival. The debate raged for hours. Other council species offered testimony about past Trizari expansions that had followed similar patterns. Evidence mounted that the invasion had been motivated by resource acquisition, not security concerns. Finally, Admiral Wright requested permission to address the tribunal. The judges granted it with reluctance, clearly unsettled by the military leader's presence. "I have commanded Earth forces for 30 years, Wright began. In that time, my primary mission was defense, preparing for threats we hoped would never materialize. When the Trizari came, they confirmed our worst fears." He paused, looking directly at the Trizari delegation. "But they also made a critical mistake. They judged us by our technology, not by our resolve. They thought us primitive because our ships weren't as advanced. They never considered what makes humans truly dangerous, our ability to adapt, to improvise, and to endure." Wright's words hung in the chamber as the judges conferred. Finally, High Judge Omra spoke. "This tribunal finds that the Trizari Empire acted in violation of council law. They will withdraw all forces from Earth immediately. Reparations will be paid, and the leadership responsible will be removed from power." Victory had been achieved, but as Porter looked around the chamber, he saw not just justice in the aliens' eyes, but fear. Earth had won respect, but at a cost. They were now viewed as something to be wary of, a species that could not be conquered, even when outmatched. And perhaps, Porter thought, that was exactly what humanity needed to be. 5 years passed since the tribunal's judgment. The gleaming hull of the Earth diplomatic vessel Redemption cut through space as it approached the orbital station above Neos, a former Trizari colony world now celebrating its independence. Commander Porter, now Ambassador Porter, stood on the bridge watching the small green planet grow larger in the view screen. "They've come a long way in a short time," remarked Captain Lisa Chen, the ship's commander. Porter nodded. "Freedom has that effect." The years following Earth's victory had transformed humanity's place in the galaxy. The Trizari withdrawal had been immediate, but its aftermath created a power vacuum across dozens of worlds. Into that void stepped the newly formed Earth Defense Force, offering protection to vulnerable planets against exploitation. "Ambassador, we're receiving a transmission from the orbital station," reported the communications officer. "Put it through," Porter said. The smiling face of Governor Tal appeared on screen. Once a resistance leader against Trizari rule, now democratically elected leader of Neos. "Ambassador Porter, your timing is perfect. The celebration begins in 3 hours. We wouldn't miss it, Governor. The people of Earth stand with Neos on this historic day." After docking, Porter led the small Earth delegation through crowds of cheering aliens. The Neosians resembled tall, slender humans with violet skin and elongated fingers. They had suffered under Trizari rule for generations before Earth's intervention helped them gain independence. "They see us as heroes," whispered Eliza, now Earth's chief xenobiologist and Porter's wife. She walked beside him, taking everything in with a scientist's curiosity. "Some do," Porter replied quietly. "Others see us as just another power looking to expand its influence." The truth lay somewhere in between. Earth's military capabilities had grown exponentially with access to galactic technology. The Earth Defense Force now operated the most formidable fleet in this sector of the galaxy. Some council members worried they had simply replaced one dominant power with another. At the celebration ceremony, Porter stood before the gathered crowd. Behind him towered a monument depicting human and Neosian hands clasped together. 5 years ago, Earth faced extinction, Porter began. "We learned firsthand the cost of being defenseless in a universe where power can corrupt even the most advanced civilizations." The crowd grew silent. Alien faces turned toward him in rapt attention. We promised ourselves that no peaceful world would suffer as we did if we could prevent it. Today, Neo stands free not because of Earth's strength, but because of our shared commitment to justice. Throughout the reception that followed, Porter moved among the guests, listening more than speaking. The Galactic Council had changed significantly since the tribunal. New checks and balances prevented single species from dominating decisions. Earth now held a permanent seat, though many council members remained wary of humanity's growing influence. As the celebration wound down, Porter's security chief approached urgently. "Ambassador, our long-range sensors have detected a Trizari vessel approaching the Billari system." Porter frowned. The Billari system. There's nothing there except a pre-spaceflight civilization, sir, much like Earth was before first contact. Understanding dawned immediately. Despite their punishment, elements within the Trizari Empire still sought to expand their influence. Alert Admiral Wright. Have the EDF Independence change course to intercept? Within hours, reports came back. The Trizari vessel had detected the approaching Earth ships and flowed without making contact with the primitive world. Another potential invasion prevented before it began. Later that night, Porter stood on the observation deck of their ship, watching the stars. Elisa joined him, slipping her hand into his. "Do you ever wonder if we've become what we fought against?" she asked. "The other species fear us now." Porter considered the question carefully. "There's a difference. We don't conquer. We don't take what isn't freely given. And most importantly, we remember what it was like to be vulnerable." Through the viewport, they watched as an Earth Defense Force patrol passed by. Powerful ships that had evolved from the hidden fleet that saved humanity. The vessels moved with purpose, their mission clear, to ensure no species ever experienced what Earth had endured. "The galaxy has changed," Porter said finally. "And so have we. But our scars remind us why we fight." In the distance, a small Trizari merchant ship changed course upon spotting the Earth patrol. Their former conquerors now fled at the mere sight of human vessels. Earth's revenge hadn't just been vicious, it had been complete. The predators had become the hunted, and the galaxy had learned an important lesson. Underestimate humanity at your peril.